Okay. All right, people. Welcome back to another edition of Postgame Live here with Ohio State and Michigan State. I've got my special guest tonight here, Brandon Moses. Love having him on. He's got his own channel as well. I'm going to throw his stuff up on the screen right now, so all of you can go ahead, follow Brandon. He has his own talk show as well, Facebook and Instagram, and you can hit him up on Twitter as well too. So obviously, Ohio State comes into the game today. They were 27-point favorites, and but prior to getting into what took place today, Brandon has been away for about 3 or 4 games, and I just kind of want to give the floor to Brandon a little bit to kind of get his take on what Ohio State, what he has seen up to this game, what he's liked, what he's disliked, and where he thinks they may need to grow. So I'm just going to give Brandon the floor right now.
All right, what's up, y'all? I'm glad to be back with Buckeye Bob to have a great time with y'all and go over this game, over this victory against Michigan State. Also, real quick, along with the information Bob put on the screen, just recently I have joined forces with the Buckeye Scoop, y'all. All podcast videos will be uploaded on their platform. So make sure you subscribe to the Buckeye Scoop YouTube channel and their podcast. All right. So, and more details later. But with that said, these past few games, obviously we've played Rutgers. We blew the doors off Wisconsin. To summarize it, I feel like I don't care how much you preach to these young men. It's really hard to get up the same way every game. And I think we saw a little bit of that against Rutgers. We blew them out. We sleepwalked through that blowout. Our guys, in my opinion, looked disinterested. CJ Stroud was kind of ho-hum. It was almost like a scrimmage type vibe. But I'm not going to overreact to that. They still blew them out and handled business. But the biggest thing, y'all, is not even how they're playing. It's the injury factor, which we're going to touch on. Getting through this game and getting to the bye week was key. To me, that is the number one thing at this point right now.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the bye week probably comes at a good time. You've played 6 games right now. There's still guys that are nicked up. They're nursing injuries. Mayan Williams shows up out of nowhere, doesn't play today. So I really think that this is a great opportunity, obviously, with the bye week coming up. So, yeah, and we're going to touch on all that, people. I kind of wanted to let Brandon just talk and give his thoughts on what he saw leading up into today's game. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. Obviously, comments are welcome. Wherever you may be from, around the country, around the world, we love that you come in. Remember to like, share, subscribe. As always, we always like to show and understand that we've got this is in accordance with Talk College Football all the time. You can sign up at patreon.com. If you go to YouTube and search MarkRogersTV, you can check it out, all other channels out. We've got the Ohio State channel right on there as well, which Brandon and I are on now. And you can always go back and review things and so forth and so on. So we like to let Mark Rogers know that we're mentioning him as well. So as we get into this game, so as I mentioned, Ohio State came in and was a 27-point favorite. And Michigan State, riddled with injuries themselves, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But with that said, it's Ohio State's first road game. You don't know how a team's going to react going on the road for the first time. We're all creatures of habit. We sleep in our own bed. We're used to getting up at certain times and going to class and doing those things. Now you got to get on a plane. And I don't know if you've ever flown before. I know some of these kids, when they go to college as a freshman, they've never been on a plane before. So, that's anxiety for them, guys that are traveling for the first time. So we just don't know how things are going to act out. You're going to have a stadium. You've got a wounded animal coming into this game. Michigan State started the year at 3-0. They have then lost their last 3 games. So this was basically a chance for them to kind of maybe try to salvage a season right now. You know what I mean? I know they're not looking for a moral victory, but could they salvage something? Could Ohio State turn it over? Could the weather be bad? Could Ohio State's D game show up? So I think with that said, that's what I was looking at coming into the game today with Michigan State. Can Ohio State handle a little bit of being on the road for the first time, playing on grass, all that? You're in a hostile environment. You're not going to have 100,000 OSU fans. You're not going to have 75,000 Michigan State fans, the noise factor, so forth and so on. So if you want to add anything to that, B, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And because remember, y'all, the context behind what Buckeye Bob is saying is that, can you guys remember the last time since you've been alive that we've had 5 straight home games? I can't, man, when I was a kid, but I can't. So you have the redundancy of that with these players. And I think in addition to what Bob is saying, I think kind of on the back end, it was a help to get them focused if they weren't totally focused, knowing that you're breaking the habit of 5 straight games and you about to go on the road now for the first time. And so I think that could have been a little helpful for them. But at the same time, you still have to walk in it and do it and step up. So, I think both things are working here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, well, let's get in here, B. I'll start to break this down, and obviously I'll give you the floor to speak what you want to talk about as well as I break things down. So Ohio State wins a toss and they defer, and Michigan State takes over. You're always trying to what is this defense going to do? The defense is still growing. Can we get off the field 3 and out? So you give some credit. They pick up a couple first downs. Peyton Thorne completes a great back shoulder throw. Cam Brown finally seeing some action today. We're going to talk more about him down the road here. It's been a while for him. He had been hurt, so he kind of got clipped a couple times today on that throw and on a penalty. But finally, though, after that, Ohio State kind of tightens down. Michigan State tries to take a shot down the field, and Thorne throws a terrible pass into triple coverage. And what a team that's good needs to do is they need to get that interception, and Lathan Ransom does a great job running it down for an interception.
Yeah, or was it Cam Martinez, according to Herb Street, who was butchering names all night? But I digress in my Tim May voice. But yeah, exactly. He was in position. He played that ball well and picked it off like he should have. But yeah, they came out swinging. He made a nice throw. Listen, that we can jump all over our corners, but that was a nice throw, y'all. That was perfect back shoulder throw by Thorne. Just give him credit. But we stepped up. And here's the other thing. Me and Buckeye Bob are going to beat this drum to death. Be grateful for the defense that we have this year, y'all. Last year, that would have been a touchdown drive for sure, right? So, we stopped them. We stepped up and turned the ball over. So kudos to the D for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, between the last 2 years under Kerry Coombs, as Ohio State fans, we've all had nightmares going to bed at night. And like we said before, we just didn't know, could Ohio State ever get a stop when they needed to get stops in games? And it was frustrating. And so that's what we're seeing right now, and that's the great part about it. So Ohio State, after the pick, takes over, and from the 20, and of course, it doesn't take long. They go 7 plays, 80 yards in 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Egbuka and Henderson chunk plays in that drive, and the payoff goes to Marvin Harrison Jr. on a 19-yard touchdown pass. Another great play, another kind of a back shoulder, but Marvin Harrison just stepping up and making a play. It wasn't the best toss, but guess what? Our Jimmy's better than your Joe, and CJ trusts him. I'm going to get it out there to him. He's going to make a play, and that's exactly what he did.
Absolutely, and he lived up to my nickname, which I've coined, by the way, which is Marvatron, y'all. Marvatron is his nickname, and he looked like it, y'all. He was an animal. But yeah, that was a great catch and great. Yeah, I know you're right. It wasn't perfect, but that made it even more impressive from Marvin Harrison's standpoint to pluck it. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and this is something I'm going to touch on too. The relationship that Stroud is building with Harrison, Egbuka, and Fleming, with Smith and Jigba out, and Jigba out, it's just been unbelievable, and it's just getting better and better over time. So Ohio State goes up 7-0. Not surprised. Took advantage of the defense. And what do you want to do when you score a touchdown? We want that 3 and out. It's exactly what we get. Michigan State punts it back to Ohio State, and then a little bit of a disaster strikes on miscommunication between Egbuka and Stroud. We don't know whose fault it was. Was it supposed to be a hookup by Egbuka, or did he run the right route and Stroud read the wrong thing? But Stroud throws his first pick six of the year, and what do you got? It's 7-7 before you know it. Did you see anything on that in your eyes, B?
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about this one. I have to go back and watch the game. I mean, we all go back and rewatch, right? If you don't, you should. You really get a good perspective. But not only that, I'm sure that's going to be addressed in the post-game presser with Ryan Day and CJ. CJ does a great job of breaking down plays, even the bad ones, to explain what happened.
He really does, yes.
But what I was saying, in my little chats during the game, clearly was a miscommunication, because there was people who were freaking out, like, who's Stroud throwing it to? Why would he just throw it to the guy? He didn't just throw it to the guy. Clearly, CJ expected Egbuka to be there. The route, there was a miscommunication somehow. Was Stroud wrong, or was Egbuka wrong? That's the question. We will find out. But I heard other people say, well, even if Egbuka was there, the defender was still there. But how many times have we seen CJ throw a timing route like that with defenders in the area, and our receivers still were able to get in front of them and shield them off and catch the ball? Right. We've seen that a lot. So let's not act like that wasn't possible because there was a defender there. So it's kind of hard to imagine that because Egbuka's running up the sideline. But with that said, we're going to find out what happened. But it's inconsequential at the end of the day, hence the final score.
Yeah, correct. And you're right about Stroud. It's a great point on Stroud. When you hear the guys from Bucknuts talk about him in post-game stuff, he almost is able to break down every pass he makes during the game. And he can tell you exactly what he was going to see, and he saw it or whatever. So it will be interesting, as you said. He will obviously own up if it was his fault, or he's not going to throw Egbuka under the bus. He's just going to say there was some miscommunication there. He may have read something different from what I read. So with that said, it happens. It just it just happens at all levels. It happens. So all right, it's 7-7. Does Ohio State flinch? Absolutely not. They get the kickoff. It goes out of the end zone, and it's unbelievable because all it takes is 3 plays, a minute 21. Michigan State now has a blown coverage in the secondary. They've got a guy over the slot of Emeka Egbuka. He turns his head and looks to his defender as the ball's being snapped, and then as Egbuka just runs a little streak straight by him, he then drops off of him and runs over to cover Marvin Harrison, who's coming in on a square in. And, again, Stroud with a great read, puts it right on him, and it's 69 yards to the house, just like that, and it's 14-7. Just when the stadium started to get a little bit excited, and there was that feeling of, hey, we're right here now. You know what I mean? We just got a tie. Let's get them off the field and see what we can do. And Ohio State's not having any of that. And it's 3 plays, 75 yards, 69 yards to Egbuka, and just how you wanted to respond.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, to me, that play was a microcosm. A microcosm of why their secondary is ranked so low in the country. I mean, let's just be honest. They've been doing things like that all season. It's not just they don't have talent or not athletic. Something's going on from a coaching standpoint in that secondary, because that's just, come on, man. And yes, it does happen, but it's happening too much for them. And so that was hitting the easy button. Pop, done. Yes. You know what I mean? So.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, again, I understand they're a little bit nicked up themselves, especially in the defensive backfield. I think they were missing 5 starters today. They're trying to move guys around to try to get. They've got safeties playing corner and vice versa and whatnot, just trying to get things covered up. But when you're playing a team like Ohio State, it's the worst case scenario for you,
right,
especially as a defensive coordinator. Because how many times did you hear it? Do you play man-to-man? Do you just play zone? Then you get gashed in a run. It's a catch-22 right now when you're playing Ohio State's offense because they put you in so much conflict. They get the ball out, the players in space, and you have a quarterback that is so dialed in and understanding what's going on as he's seeing things. That's the other problem. You can't confuse the kid. So when you have all that going on, this is what you have happening when you've got a downtrodden defense and you've got an offense that's clicking on all cylinders. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's 14-7 before you know it. So again, credit back to the defense. We kick back off to Michigan State. Now they did pick up a couple first downs, but they got the ball into Ohio State territory. And you're sitting here and you're thinking to yourself, okay, Michigan State's moving the ball here a little bit, picking up some first downs. And then finally, the defense steps up. We get a third down stop on a big sack, which now takes them out of any possibility of trying to go for it on fourth down. They have to now punt it away. Big play, I believe, was Michael Hall, one of his first 2 sacks of the day.
Yeah. And again, y'all, I mean, it's so lovely to hear Buckeye Bob say what he's saying about this defense. Just based off of what we've seen, the years leading up to this. Is that team was driving. They were driving. They're at home. They already got a touchdown in the books. They're trying to, scratch and claw and get some more momentum. And we're able to stop them cold with one of our best playmakers on the defense. So that was very exciting to see.
Yeah. Yep. So what happened? So now, again, Michigan State has to punt it. And punter does a great job, pins Ohio State down to 2-yard line. But again, Ohio State just doesn't flinch. It doesn't matter. You can put them on the half-yard line. You can put them at midfield. They're just so confident right now offensively, and the offensive line, what they're doing, they don't really think about it. I think the playbook is still kind of open. Ryan Day just is fantastic. Him and Kevin Wilson scheming up on what they want to do offensively and how they just, as I said, put teams in conflict on how do you want to defend us. So, again, Ohio State takes over on the 2-yard line. They go 8 plays. There's a fourth down conversion that they convert in that drive. The first quarter ends at 14-7. The drive continues into the second quarter. And B, this is another one I'm ecstatic for, and you probably are too. Julian Fleming has been arriving. He's been coming on, and I'm ecstatic for the kid. 51-yard touchdown again today. And it's 21-7.
We froze up a little bit, Bob. I heard the last thing I heard you say was Julian Fleming coming on, then it cut out. Did I miss anything important?
Yeah, I said. Yeah, he hit him for the 51-yard touchdown pass,
okay.
And it puts Ohio State up 21-7.
Got you. Yeah, man. I posted on my page of how happy are you for this kid? Like, he's been written off by so many, and it was all about his health, y'all. We see, well, it was all about his health. It was all about him just polishing up. He was very raw coming out of high school. They ran the ball a lot at his high school, and he just had to really learn to be a polished receiver and fight the injury bug. But now we're starting to see, when he's healthy, how consistent and reliable and strong and a good route runner in the speed with his size. Like, I'm so excited, not just for Ohio State and what he brings to the table now, but for this kid, because he could have been another transfer portal, casualty, gave up, but our coaches stuck with him, and he's stuck with Ohio State, and we're starting to see the fruits of it, y'all. And I'm super excited for Fleming.
Yeah, I mean, they always talk about Larry Johnson being the best D-line coach in the country. We have the best wide receiver coach in the country in Brian Harbaugh.
Hands down.
And that's why Ohio State continues to sign 5-star receivers, because they see right now there's 7 Ohio State wide receivers in the NFL, the most out of any college in America. They have the most wide receivers on NFL rosters right now. So when you have that passing game that you see right now, and you have the receivers flourishing like this, you can't help but want to come here. And as you said it, thank goodness Julian Fleming stayed with the process. He didn't get discouraged. The injuries, he had to work at it. As you said, coming out of high school out of Pennsylvania, he played on a team that was a wing T team. So they didn't really teach him how to run routes. It was just him being an athlete. Go run a street, just run straight down the field. We'll throw you the ball, or go hook up at 10 yards. We'll throw you the ball, and he'll make the play. So he did, as you said, he had to learn the position now at the extremely highest level, Division I football. And so you're now seeing, as you said, the fruits of his labor, which is absolutely outstanding. I'm so happy for the kid, and I'm just tickled pink for him. So Ohio State goes up 21-7. So they go ahead, kick the ball back to Michigan State, and Michigan State now, they go on a 7-play drive. They go 76 yards, but the thing that kind of irritated myself and Brandon, Ohio State should have been off the field. There were 2 third down plays where, one was a second down play. Cam Brown with the horse collar, after they had him in 2nd and 15 or 2nd and 20 or whatever, gave them a first down. They're not going to be able to pick that first down up at that point. So Cam Brown having a struggle as he came back. And then you have the hands to the face on another third down play, which had Ohio State off the field, which then gave Michigan State a first down, and they took advantage of it. Peyton Thorne hits Reed on another nice throw. Again, sometimes, as you said, B, you tip your hat. A great pass beats great defense. And it wasn't like was it Stokes that was out there? Was it Kai Stokes or John or who was out there?
Oh, I believe it was J.K. Johnson out there. I believe
J.K. Johnson. Yes, you are correct. J.K. Johnson. He was there, but credit to Reed, credit to Thorne. But it's something I wanted to ask you, Brandon. What are you seeing right now with the defensive backs? Are they not picking the ball up in time? Are they just seeing it too late? Is it more that it's just a great pass by the quarterback and the receiver making a play? What say you?
That is a very, very tough question. Because one thing I'm seeing, and even the coaches this week leading up to the game have basically said, listen, our guys are in position, like specifically with Denzel Burke. Denzel Burke has been getting a lot of criticism, and rightly so. But what they're saying is he's right there. He's in position, but he just needs to finish the play. And I saw that today as well. Cam Brown, on a couple of those plays, he was right there step for step with the guy. The one play that Thorne threw, I forget if it was the first down in the first series or not, but it was the one he dropped right in the bucket. Cam was right there, and he just couldn't break up the pass. So I know we like to overreact and just knee jerk and just say our DBs are trash and but if you really, really, really want to look at what's going on, you gotta watch film. You gotta watch the plays again, see what's going on, and maybe even have an idea of the technique that needs to be present and stuff like that. But with that said, our guys are there. So as far as drill work during the week, they gotta help them work against that back shoulder throw. Let Stroud test them and stress them and work with them to make sure that they're doing everything they possibly can at the point of attack when the ball's coming. It's like the 50-50 ball right now. It's just like, it makes me nervous because we're losing those battles. So I'm not going to just say we've been utter garbage and we're not there. We're there, but we got to finish. Being there is not good enough, but at least being there is better than completely not being there at all, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get you. It's a good point. And you're right. They are there. They're just not finishing. And I guess the analogy I can use is a basketball analogy, because I coached it for 22 years, is when somebody makes a great move to the basket and gets fouled, but they can't finish the layup for the and one. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what it's like. And the other one, and this is a tough call because, again, we don't want to call Cam Brown out on this. He got whistled for the pass interference call. It was an underthrown ball, severely underthrown.
Yeah.
And he's running with his back to it. And it's almost like anymore. You see it in the NFL a lot. Just throw the ball short. And a defender who's on a full dead sprint, if you just stop and let him fly you over, it's a penalty almost. So Cam Brown just kind of got caught there. I don't want to say it was poor technique. He was just on a hop to get there, and it was an underthrown ball where he didn't get his head around quick enough, and the receiver was able to try to adjust. You're going to get a flag on that 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah, so, let me quickly say though, I agree, but from what I remember from that play, it seemed like that ball was like underthrown. Like usually the balls hit you in the back of the head or something. But it didn't even do that. It was like 3 or 4 yards away from the play. To me, that was kind of shaky. Like, that's kind of a not catchable, debatable type thing. So, I kind of gave him a pass on that one for that reason.
Right. Yeah, no, I get you. And it's tough. Listen, I'll be the first to tell you, I never played cornerback in my life, but I know this. It's the hardest position on the field to play defensively. I mean, it by far, hands down, it's the hardest position to play on defense because you're out on an island by yourself sometimes, and the offense knows where they're going, and you have to be able to read everything. You're also, you got to watch where your eyes are at. You can't peek in the backfield. You have to understand your keys, and so yes, and we got to remember we still have a new defensive coordinator. Guys are still learning too and trying to figure out what he expects of them. So. With that said, Ohio State, Michigan State misses the extra point, so it's 21-13. Once again, Ohio State unfazed. They go 75 yards in 8 plays. There's 2 big pass plays on 3rd down to Harrison Jr., which, man, oh, man, Harris, what'd you call him?
Marvatron. Marvatron.
Marvatron. I mean, that's what he is turning into, man. He really, really is. And so – Ohio State ends up, Henderson takes it in from 1 yard out. It's 28-13. And so they hold Michigan State again to a 3-and-out. Fantastic again. They get it back to Ohio State. And again, Michigan State's doing everything they can. They've got Ohio State now pinned back on their own 9-yard line. And what's Ohio State do? They just go 9 plays. They run out the clock, just basically how – you always hear Bill Belichick say this. He always says, when we know we're getting a second half kickoff, if we can get a score just before half, whether it's a touchdown or a field goal, and you get that double dip action. And that's exactly what Ohio State did. They went down and scored in 4.5 minutes. Marvin Harrison on another great little in route, puts it right on him, in stride. He just turns upfield and gets in the end zone.
Yeah. And he had plenty of time back there to throw the ball. And it wasn't just the O-line. From what I remember, y'all, check out Henderson. Travion Henderson did a great job picking up the blitz. I believe the corner came on the blitz, and he held him up nicely. So he was making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches back there, looking, just waiting for guys to get open. So, yeah, that was great to see.
Yes, that was a great call by you. Yeah, because they were showing zone, and then he came late on the blitz. Henderson did a great job by sliding over and picking that blitzer up, which now leaves those guys on an island back there where you don't want to be with C.J. Stroud with the ball in his hand, and you've got those receivers back there. So Ohio State goes into half at 35-13. Just some first half stats, too. Stroud was 15-18 for 285, 4 touchdowns, the 1 interception. Henderson, 17 carries for 117 yards and a touchdown. Egbuka went 3 catches for 109. Harrison was 4 catches for 91 and 2 touchdowns. Fleming had the 4 receptions also for 81 yards and 1 touchdown. Total 429 yards in the first half.
I mean, that's just ridiculous, y'all. That's in the first half. And listen, we don't have Mayan Williams for this game. We didn't have Mayan. We still don't have Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like, our offense is doing this without, a couple of their best players. And just speaking of best players, real quick, how good is Emeka Ibuka, y'all? I mean, he is a number one superstar on other teams, right? And I'm saying that because I'm not saying we don't appreciate him, but Jackson Smith and Jigba is the name. He's the guy. Now he's been out, but you kind of automatically put Ibuka as second fiddle by default because of Jackson Smith and Jigba, but he's not playing like one. He catches the ball cleanly. His routes are beautiful. He knows how to get open. He has good yak yard. I mean, like the kid is really, really, really good. So I want to make sure he gets some love, man, because he's been killing it.
Yeah, no doubt. He's wearing that number 2, and he looks like a bigger Olave out there right now.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. He's just a bigger Olave. He breaks tackles. You can't arm tackle him. He's strong. He got a very strong lower body, and breaks tackles. And you're exactly right. So on top of the 429 yards to be 18 first downs, Ohio State had in the first half. They were 3 or 4 on third down. They had the fourth down conversion as well. So tremendous stuff. On the flip side, the defense, what they did to Michigan State in that first half, Thorne was 11 of 18 for only 113 yards. He had a touchdown in the pick. And here's the best part. 10 carries, they only had 4 yards on 10 carries. What a year what a year it makes when you don't have Kenneth Walker in the backfield back here for you. And now you're really scrambling. So you just held a team to 117 yards of total offense in the first half. And when you have those stats that Ohio State has and those stats that Michigan State has, that's what that score correlates to, 35-13 in the first half. Definitely.
And it's a beautiful thing to be able to stop the run, isn't it? Like I'm gonna keep poking at this because we need to appreciate what we have from last year, y'all. Like we got to get it in our heads, and I'm saying this over and over because listen, I run my own page, and I got eyeballs all around college football boards and message boards and fan boards, and there's still a lot of angst and hand wringing about the defense. And it's just like, yes, we can ask questions and have some concerns. I'm not saying don't, but just make sure you stop and appreciate what you're seeing because we are physical at the point of attack. We stop the run, and like that in itself is going to be a platform or a recipe for success for us in general. So appreciate that because I don't want to get ahead of myself, but wait till we talk about the final rushing numbers. We're just at halftime right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Ohio State does exactly what they wanted to do. Score just before the half. They're going to receive the second half kickoff. And it's killing me, B, because I want to see Trainum catch the ball, first of all. I want to see what he can do with it because that's all they've been doing is talking about him. So what's he do? He muffs this one, picks it up, makes a great play. Over midfield, but they have the block in the back, which brings it back. But he did show what he can do when he gets his hands on the ball a little bit in an open setting in a kickoff situation like that. So, but I love having him back there. He just got to hold on to the ball, though. He's killing me on the muffs right now. So
yeah. I just think his nerves, I don't know, but yeah, I keep thinking about the kid from Maryland. I don't know if y'all seen the team up north in Maryland game a couple weeks ago, and it doinked right off his helmet, and they scooped it up and punched it in the next play. So that kind of makes me nervous for that reason. But hopefully the nerves can go down, and during the bye week he can rep it and just kind of catch it cleanly and get some confidence, man. Because what is that? Twice now? 2 or 3 times?
Yes. Because he dropped one against Wisconsin, the opening kickoff against Wisconsin, right, and picked it up and put him in a bad starting spot as well. So, but again, he is athletic. There's no doubt about it. So I just want him to hold on to the ball. So with the block in the back, though, it puts Ohio State back inside the 5. They're on their own 4-yard line. And again, 9 plays, 96 yards in about 5 minutes. Harrison with a 19-yard touchdown pass. And this one was a thing of beauty. And this one you could really call on Marvitron here because after a few chunk plays, Egbuka had a chunk play on it, 2 chunk plays. There was the great play on the sideline. Egbuka broke it, went upfield for about 20 yards, and there was a 3rd down play that Egbuka also got a completion on to keep the drive going. But the back shoulder throw and the trust that Stroud has with Harrison on those back shoulder throws to the pylon, it was silly because it looked like it was his little wee brother that he was snatching that ball from behind him from, right? Because he threw it behind him, it was a little bit low, but he was able to snatch it up right off of him and like it was nothing, no big deal. So Marvin Harrison with his 3rd touchdown of the day, which I'll also talk about down the road here in our highs and lows section. But again, I don't know what else to say. How Stroud and Harrison and Egbuka and Fleming, how well they're just getting together right now as a tandem without the best receiver in the country on the field right now.
Right. That was an excellent analogy or example you gave. I thought about me and my son. I have a 6-year-old son, and we play football and stuff and play around. And literally, Marvin Harrison, not only does he just yank it right over his back, but he turns around and just palms it with one hand, like it's just nothing, like he's just toying with him. And it's just like, it looked very NFL. It looked very like just unfair. And I can't wait to go back and watch it in slow-mo. But that was just phenomenal.
And the crazy part about it too, B, is they're both back next year. And Julian Fleming will probably come back next year. So it's not like they're actually true sophomores. They've only got 7 starts or 6 starts under their belts right now.
Right.
And you can see just how unbelievably talented they are. It's just incredible. So Ohio State goes up 42-13. They go ahead and kick off to Michigan State. And again, I loved it because what happens? We get the 3 and out. The reason for the 3 and out, we didn't get 1 but 2 sacks on that same series by our D-line again.
Yeah, man. D-line is eating. And what's crazy is our D, I know people are complaining about our DNs not getting enough sacks, right? But our DNs, like if we need to see the stats on pressures because the DNs are they're closing the pocket in and allowing our monsters in the middle like Teron Vincent and especially Michael Hall Jr., who is the monster of all monsters, to be able to, really get after the quarterback because we're pinning in those corners and collapsing that pocket, so the ends may not be getting to the quarterback as much as we want, but they're causing havoc to make sure our D tackles do. And one other quick thing I want to add, I am not the ref suck type guy. I don't bring up, referees that much. I try not to. But, man, listen, Michigan State's O-line was holding the crap out of our D-line this game. Go rewatch the game if you missed it. Matter of fact, I know tons of people on the boards and chats were saying the same thing, like, dang, you don't see that hold? And they were still able to get through and put pressure on Thorne all night.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, B, and it's hard when we do this because we just watch the game live. So we're just trying to take some mental notes, write some things down, and try to cover this ourselves. And if you do as well as I do, you learn more when you do go back and watch the game. You're like, man, I missed that point right there. I could have mentioned that. But for the most part, that's what I like to do too, is to go back and rewatch it. And now that you've mentioned that, that's something I'm going to look at to see if they were getting held as much as the guys and everybody else were mentioning. So, yeah, but if that's the case, that means our D-line is just getting after it and getting upfield, and that's the only thing the offensive line can do is to grab a hold of a shirt or give a horse collar and grab him around the neck or whatever it may be. So, but, yeah, I'm going to definitely have to look at that. So, you go up 42-13 after the Marvitron play, and what do we get? We get another 3 and out. Goes back to Ohio State. They pinned Michigan State back. The punter is very good for Michigan State, actually. He's not a bad punter. He didn't have his best punt, and Ohio State takes over at midfield, and they march it right down the field in 10 plays. They go 50 yards. And I'm going to mention this too. Guy Scott Jr. with his first touchdown ever as an Ohio State Buckeye. I couldn't have been prouder for the kid.
Yes. Yes, man. Yes. I mean, if you follow Buckeye football like I know we do, you know about his transition from wide receiver. He was an elite wide receiver coming out of high school, y'all. He wasn't some bum. He came with a stacked class, obviously. You know, things kind of went certain ways, and he decided to devote his transition to tight end. And it's been a journey. So to see him finally get a touchdown is great. And also, I can't wait to hear G. Scott Sr. hopefully hop on somebody's podcast and talk about it, because his dad is great too. So just the family, even losing, I believe he lost his mother like a year or two ago.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, and just following the story and the journey and just all that stuff, man, it just makes it so much sweeter. It's on the lines of Fleming in different ways. You just appreciate these kids, work ethic and everything they've been through to see that. And hopefully we're going to see some more down the stretch.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So people, at that point, it's 49-13, and it was late in the third quarter. Ryan Day went ahead and subbed. So there was only one other scoring play. Michigan State went 8 plays and 80 yards with their backups and scored a touchdown late. Academic at that point. But the final score ends up being 49-20. It was not even that close.
Right.
It's not hard to see that it was not even that close. So here are some of the mind-numbing numbers I'm about to go over with you guys, okay? First of all, C.J. Stroud on the game and the 2 times that he's played Michigan State. So today's game, he was 21-26 for 361, 6 touchdowns and 1 interception. And it's really 3 games, because if you remember during COVID, Brandon, he got in late up in Spartanville and actually ran a touchdown for like 48 yards. Okay,
right.
So, but in his 2 times throwing the football, he has 8 incompletions and 12 touchdowns in 2 games against Michigan State. So just wrap your head around that for a second.
Man, listen, that's when you break it down like that, that is just insane. It's ridiculous. He likes Michigan State, clearly. I mean, I don't even got nothing to say. There's nothing for me to follow up with. The numbers speak for itself.
No, it speaks for itself. There's no question about it. I mean, and he had a 1 rushing touchdown, as I mentioned. So Stroud accounted for 13 touchdowns in 2 games and 0.2 of a third game. And like I said, only 8 incompletions, 12 touchdowns. Travion Henderson, 19 carries, 118 yards, 1 touchdown. He did take a helmet off a hip, it looked like, early in that second half, and had a limp off. But that's something that I'm going to talk about in the highs and lows section as well with him. And our receivers, again, it's just an embarrassment of riches. Emeka Egbuka, 5 catches, 143 yards for 1 touchdown. Marvin Harrison, 7 receptions, 131, 3 touchdowns. Julian Fleming goes for 4 for 81 and 1 touchdown. And here's the crazy part. Total yards, Ohio's now, this was, I think, towards the end of the game, but Ohio State had over 600 yards of total offense, about 377 passing, 227 rushing, 29 first downs.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is just unbelievable. And I get it. Michigan State is a downtrodden team. But guess what? Their backs were against the wall. It's a wounded animal situation. They're going to fight, and they fought as well as they could. But when you're going against a machine that's hitting on the cylinders that they're hitting on right now, it's really nothing you can do. You can just pick your poison. Do you do what Rutgers did? Stay in cover 2 the whole time and just say you're not going to throw the ball for 350 yards against us. We're going to have to run the ball. And that's what Ohio State did against Rutgers. So it's pick your poison right now with this offense. Defensively, tremendous job. I'm ecstatic about it. Again. Michigan State only went for 193 yards passing. They had a total of 7 yards rushing. They got a little over 200 yards of total offense. And again, I get it. It's Michigan State, but still, you've got Scholar. They didn't have a lot of injuries on offense, B. All the injuries were on defense. So they were playing with a full deck that I'm aware of on offense. And Ohio State was still able to go into their house and hold them to a little over 200 yards. And I say this, I don't know how many times, Brandon, you'll probably agree with me. In this day and age, in the 2022s and beyond, when you can hold an offense to a little over 200 yards of total offense and hold someone to 20 points, that's ideal right now in this day and age, the way offenses are.
Definitely. And yeah, I know. Listen, we got our haters and critics. They're going to try to downplay the competition, to downplay our value. That's just what it is. We talk to people on message boards and social media. They're going to try, well, it's just Michigan State. But my buddy DeJuan West, shout out to DeJuan out there listening. He let me know before I hopped on. He said people would try to downplay this win because Sparty's not a great team, but we held them to season lows in multiple categories. So we didn't just beat them because they're bad. We really bludgeoned them, and we beat them the way we should beat them as a number 3 team in the nation. We dominated them. You can't downplay it. I mean, when you look at the numbers and you watch the game and see what we did, and then, of course, what you said with the final stats, even some of the passing numbers came in garbage time against our second and third stringers. And the 20 points, our first team defense only gave up 7, y'all.
Right.
Remember the pick 6, and then the other touchdown came in garbage time. So if you really want to look at the reality of it, our defense stood tall and only gave up 1 TD to that starting offense.
Yep. Great point. Yeah, because you forget about the pick 6. And yeah, that adds to that total points, but it's not really a defensive stat that was put on Ohio State. It was a pick 6. So those stats, mind-numbing. Obviously, as Ohio State fans, you're tickled pink on both ends of that, both offensively and defensively. So I have a thing here that I like to go on, a little thing I call the highs and the lows that I look at in the game. Some may reflect on Michigan State. Most times it reflects on Ohio State. So I'll start with the lows because we always like to end on a high. So my first low is our corner play, and we've touched on it a little bit. And I think as fans, we just have to just let them stick with the process right now, B. Let them keep working at it. As you said, they're in play. They're just not finishing the play.
Yeah, exactly. And the good news is we have time to get this nipped in the bud, make some improvements, get healthy. Don't forget we got Hancock, the corner, who had a great spring and really good fall camp before he got injured. Fleming, ready to come back. I'm here in Iowa as the target if he holds up with that hamstring issue. So get healthy and get guys some reps, in these areas that's coming up on film with these 50-50 balls. We still got time. Right now is not needed as much as down the stretch. You know what I mean? And obviously you're concerned now about down the stretch because of what you're seeing, obviously, but we have time to correct these things. And like Buckeye Bob said, we're right there in position. You know what I mean? So we got time to make this right is the point.
Yep, no doubt. My second low, and this is something moving forward that we really want to watch. We had some penalties extend drives today for Michigan State. One of the drives actually had 2 penalties. We had a horse collar and a hands to the face penalty. That's 30 yards in penalties right there that extended drives for Michigan State that they were able to capitalize in. Again, we have a couple bigger games that we know that are coming down the road here. And when you talk about jump balls, B, Penn State is known for just throwing jump balls. Sean Clifford is just going to put balls up and hope his guys can go up and get them. And when they see on film what has happened with Ohio State on some of them jump balls, I'm sure there'll be at least 3 to 4 Penn State will throw against Ohio State when they play at Penn State a couple weeks from now. So It'll be interesting to see, though, as we said, but the penalties, extending drives, that's something I want to make sure that we're cleaning up on. My third point right now, the injuries right now, the injury situation. Somehow, Mayan Williams doesn't even make the trip today. Ryan Day says it was something with his knee, I guess, and they held him back. And then Henderson gets dinged up and limps off again. So I love Dallin Hayden too, B, by the way. The kid runs hard for a true frosh in there. But that you've got a 1A and a 1B in Williams and Henderson, and that's where the Evan Pryor injury breaks my heart too, because he would be contributing big time right now if he didn't suffer that torn ACL in camp. So thoughts on where we're at with the injury bugs and how we can maybe, move forward and try to stay as healthy as we can.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to hit on this injury bug. It's been a big thing I've been seeing fans really wring their hands about. And I get it, but I kind of want to give some perspective. But first, let me give a shout out to Xavier Johnson, number 10, the wide receiver who scored the clutch TD against Notre Dame. Yep. Back there, taking some reps at running back, some good reps, picking up good yards. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Running hard. I mean, so shout out to him for what he did to step in today to help out the team, man. Love that kid. But the injuries, y'all, here's a little bit of a silver lining I want to give y'all. First, I want to say is this. I don't believe a lot of these injuries are long-term, out for the season type stuff. It's nagging stuff. It's basically, why do we need to force these guys into service playing banged up when we don't need them to beat this team? Mm-hmm. You got to think about it. Like Mayan Williams, I'm not sure if that was the case, but Henderson last week against Rutgers, he probably could have played based off what I was hearing, but he didn't need to. So we have the luxury, because of how good we are, to be able to rest our guys and not risk them being hurt worse. So keep that in mind. Then also, a secondary consequence of playing younger guys is that we're building depth along the way. So if something does happen down the stretch, we have guys who aren't completely green and completely wet behind the ears because they've seen action leading up to that point. So if they have to come in a big moment, they're not, like eyes so wide. You know what I mean? So we're building depth as well. So just try to, consider that. And remember, it's the bye week next week. There's plans for Jackson Smith and Jigba to come back. There's plans for Hancock to come back. We're going to rest our guys and load up for Iowa in this stretch run. So, the injuries are annoying. They're frustrating. And what's going on? But in the grand scheme of things, it's really not a critical thing, in my opinion, because clearly guys are still going to play. They've just been banged up, and we've been sitting them out because we can. So just think about it that way, y'all.
Yeah, and last week, if that was Penn State, Travion Henderson is probably playing that game last week. Okay, right. And I think that's just it. You make a great point that the injuries are not like severe type injuries where they're going to have like a high ankle sprain or something like that. They're nicks, they're bruises, and I think that's just their way of saying we don't need to have you on the field. As you said, we've got players that can fill that role, no problem. And as you said, we're getting guys experience, and they're not going to be wide-eyed if they get into a situation in a big game where they've got to come in and make plays. Yeah. They've already done it. They've already seen it. So it is a great point on that end with the injuries. My last low is, and I want to get your thought on this, is what is the Big Ten right now as a conference? I mean, you've got Ohio State. You've got Michigan and Penn State probably just a notch below them. That west side of the Big Ten right now, Nebraska's right now in first place at 2-1. Now, granted, there's still games to be played, but to look at that, you've got Illinois and Iowa playing tonight. If Illinois beats Iowa, they're in the catbird seat to possibly get to Indianapolis to play in the Big Ten championship with Brett Bielema as coach in his second year. It's crazy to see that right now. And I just want to get your thoughts on what you're seeing and what you think overall as a conference.
I mean, yikes to the Big Ten West. I mean, I think Illinois. Look, first of all, none of these teams in the West are great teams, but I do think Illinois. I'll give them kudos. Bert, as we like to call him, Bert Bielema. He's a good coach, man. He's a villain. I never really liked him when he's at Wisconsin, but he's a good coach. He has them playing competent. I mean, they're solid. They got the leading rusher. Well, in the nation, I don't know after today's games, but going into today, they had the leading rusher. Did y'all know that? Fun fact. So Illinois is very well in position to represent the West. But with that said, they just don't stack up. Now, I want to say this. Yes, Ohio State, the team up north, and Penn State are the cream of the crop in the Big Ten. And even those who are critics of Penn State and say they're not that good, and maybe they're not, they went on the road and dominated, the SEC's Auburn team, in their home field. So, when it comes to the digs against our conference, because the SEC, they like to say, well, Big Ten sucks. Well, we went into one of y'all's houses and handled business. But yeah, it's the West is just bad. I mean, it is what it is. It to me, it's going to come down to us. We gotta represent. We got the team. We got to handle business and come out of the Big Ten and step into that playoff circle and handle business. But that's down the line. I'm just foreshadowing.
Yeah, absolutely. So those were the lows. I'm going to start with the highs here, and they mentioned it on the cast, but CJ Stroud just became a Big Ten record holder by throwing for 5 TD games 8 times now in the Big Ten. It's never been done. He now owns that record. So wrap your head on that. 8 times now he has thrown 5 touchdowns in games. So, I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, and they may have been multiple, like 2 6-touchdown games like he did back-to-back years against Michigan State. So when you think about that, he now has that record, and I have a 1A and a 1B. Marvin Harrison now has become the first wide receiver in the history of Ohio State football to now catch 3 touchdowns in 3 games. He was tied with Joey Galloway as 2-time participants of that. He now is on it by himself.
First of all, who cares about CJ Stroud's record break? How many rushing touchdowns did he have? Did he run the ball? How many times did he run the ball? I'm just joking for those out there who like to complain about CJ not running the ball. But no, obviously that's just phenomenal. And I said this on the last podcast we did, is appreciate this young man while you have him, right? Like, do you understand? Like, wrap your mind around it. Just step back and soak it in, because that is just a ridiculous thing. And shout out to Woody Ingram. He follows my page. Shout out to him. He hit me up before we got on and let me know about that, because I did not know that until he actually left that comment. That is just phenomenal. And then, of course, with Marvin Harrison, look at the receivers we've had in this at Ohio State, y'all. And he did that. He's doing that. And like Bob said, he's only in his 6th or 7th start. He's a true sophomore. A true sophomore doing this. So again, perspective, and that's phenomenal, man. That's great stuff.
Yep. Number 2 as a high, and B, I'll let you talk on this. The receivers as a whole and the offensive line as a whole right now, as a high right now for Ohio State, and your thoughts on everything as a whole on what they're doing.
Man, it's like Orlando Pace just came and just, put some holy anointing oil on Paris Johnson's head and just blessed him. I mean, yes. Paris Johnson is playing like he has been outstanding. Now, the whole line has been really good, but just watching our left tackle just not only keep CJ clean, but play phenomenally in the run game as well. Just pounding guys and finishing his blocks. But yes, our O-line is playing great. Remember, last year we had challenges running the ball in short yardage especially.
Yes.
And we're not having those issues again this year, and it's because our O line is playing so well in the interior. Shout out to Luke Whippler for playing his heart out and being an absolute monster out there at the center position. But yeah, kudos to the O line, and of course our receivers. We know about them. We sing their praises all the time, but it starts with the O line, and they deserve a lot of respect. They need to win the Joe. What is it? Is it Joe Moorhead? That's not the name, is it? What's the award called?
I believe it is. Yeah, I believe it's the Joe Moorhead Award. Yes,
okay.
The best offensive line in the country. Yes, I believe that's what it is. Yes. Yeah. And, I mean, when you talk about Paris Johnson, he's a grizzly bear out there. He's absolutely mauling people. Like when he walks down, I mean, he's blowing guys 5 yards downfield. I mean, and there's nothing they can do. So, yeah, you can see why he's being considered as the top offensive tackle in this NFL draft coming up. So, and he is not disappointing whatsoever. Number 3 for a high, B had mentioned this back when we did our first show together against Arkansas State. He really wanted to start seeing sacks and how the defense would grow. And I think we're seeing both of them happen right now. 3 sacks today, and the defense as a whole, granted, we talk about and the cornerbacks and whatnot, but again, we just held a major Power 5 team to a little over 200 yards of total offense. So you can say what you want. Teams are going to hit some shots. They're going to make some plays. That's what happens in this game. So, but overall, I think we should be absolutely proud because last year we had a defense that was ranked 70th in the country. We have a defensive coordinator that came in here and after 6 games has Ohio State in the top 10 nationally overall on defense.
Yeah. Yeah. And shoot, remember what Jim Knowles said? He said, why top 10? Why not top 5? Remember when Ryan Day said top 10? Yes. So listen, we're just now getting started, y'all. We haven't been fully healthy. We're still breaking in the system. I mean, we're only halfway through the season. We're going to get more and more advanced in this system, y'all. He's going to be able to pull out more, exotic things from the packages we run and more schemes, more stuff that he hasn't showed on film. We got the bye week coming up to work on stuff like that. Like we're only scratching the surface and we're already a top 10 defense halfway through. And some people thought, well, I'll just be happy to be top 25. Well, we've exceeded that and we're still going. So yeah, I'm super excited about this defense.
Yep. I have 2 more under the highs. And we already kind of touched on it, and I'm going to say it too. Gee Scott Jr. getting his first touchdown as a Buckeye. When you talk about selfless, that's what this kid is because he came out a top 100 player in that receiving class that Ohio State had got, and he could have easily said, "You know what, Dad? I'm out of here. I'm never going to see the field on offense." And does what a lot of kids do now. They just run to that transfer portal, get in it, and can't wait to get out of there. No. What did this kid do? This kid went into the coaches and said, I'm willing to make a change to help this team out. And tight end, if I need to go to tight end, that's what I'm going to do. And that's when you talk about what selfless is. That's when they talk about the brotherhood at Ohio State. And also, that's what tells me that how that kid has been raised by his parents, okay? That's what that tells me, that they have raised him absolutely fantastic, and that's the type of person he is and the personality that he has, willing to make those sacrifices for the betterment of the team and himself. So I know, B, if you want to mention any more to it, go right ahead.
Nah, I mean, I've already kind of went into that. I concur. I agree. I'm excited for him. I'm waiting to hear the how can I put it, the what's to come in response to this, from his dad, hopefully. Big fan of his dad's podcast and stuff like that, and just stuff on the message boards, and just hoping he gets more and more love and that he is more encouraged to, keep it going, because you just never know, how much we may need him down the stretch and beyond. But yeah, it's just a great story, man. And I'm happy for him.
Yep, no doubt. My last high, guys, is this was Ohio State's first road test. We didn't know what was going to happen. They're in an unfriendly environment now, and just basically to sum it all up, they answered the test. They answered the bell. Absolutely a strong A to an A+ in my book, and that's what you want to see. You've got a team that you know that you're better than. And again, I've always said this, Brandon, because I've coached kids. 18 to 22 to 23-year-old kids, you never know what you're getting day to day. Now they're getting into an environment that they haven't seen all year. Kids are flying for the first time. They've never flown. They're staying at a hotel. They're just out of their normal routine. And when you talk about the elite teams, this is what elite teams do, and that's what Ohio State did today for their first road test.
Definitely. Yep. I mean, and people don't think about that. I don't think the casual, just regular observer thinks about that stuff. You know what I mean? But it's true. All of that stuff matters. And we've seen plenty of things go wrong, go haywire,
Right.
with your first time going on the road and stuff like that. So don't write that off, y'all. All of that is important. They passed the test with flying colors, and they did it in dominant fashion on their way to a bye week. So standing ovation for this team and this coaching staff for the preparation.
Yep. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back here and look at some comments, and B and I will go ahead and knock a few out. We're going to talk about what's ahead the next couple weeks for Ohio State, and we'll call it a night. So here's one here. Says Day needs to let his bag of offense play a regular game, even though they were up big. Twos need to work. Be ready. McCord has not seen enough meaningful reps. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I want Kyle to see more meaningful reps. I want him to be able to throw the ball. But I know in the times that he has thrown the ball, he's got an NFL arm, Brandon. I don't know if you feel that way, but I feel that Ohio State is in good hands if Kyle McCord has to play meaningful snaps.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of this out there about McCord. I mean, you got to put yourself in Ryan Day's shoes. As a coach, you got to walk the line of, yes, trying to get your guys some reps, especially the quarterback, but also, you got to rub shoulders with these coaches, in the offseason, the year round, and just everything that comes, the backlash, everything that comes from I guess pushing the envelope too far. Or Ryan Day's out here throwing the ball in the fourth quarter, 50 yards downfield. I mean, as a fan, as a couch quarterback or a couch coach, it's easy for us to just project that and say, oh, well, off with their head. But it just doesn't work like that in real life. He threw the ball a couple times today, but it's just a tough dynamic. With that said, I have seen McCord throw the ball. He does have a big arm. Obviously, we haven't seen him in tough spots and, having, to pull out a tough drive and stuff like that because we have a starter and we just haven't had him in a position to do that. But I think he'll be fine. He's getting experience, I think it'll be all right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The other thing, too, B, is you're also just trying to get out of the game. You're not trying to rub someone's nose in the dirt by having
Right.
McCord out and slinging around 15 times in that last quarter. You know what I mean? So, there is a little bit of courtesy that Ryan Day is also showing there because, we don't want any more injuries and you're not trying to rub the opposing coach's nose into it. Okay. So I get what the guy's trying to say here, but again, the situation, you have to walk the fine line there. Steven here says, Michigan State's been a disappointment so far. They had no chance with Ohio State today. I get it, Steven. Yeah, they had a lot of injuries and whatnot. But, when Ohio State's clicking on all cylinders like this offensively, this is what happens. And it's just a confidence thing right now with Ohio State. And believe you me, when they go to Penn State in 3 weeks here, 2 weeks, whatever it is, 3 weeks, then, that's where we're going to see it. You're going to see it. It isn't going to be a night game. We know that already, but that environment is still going to be tough, especially we're going to know more next week, B, because Penn State and Michigan play next week.
Can't wait.
Tell us a lot about both of those teams right there. So it's certainly something to look at right there. Let's see what else we got here. Someone with a shout out to you, B. Stephen Cherry here. Another great win to our D-backs or suspects until further notice. We've kind of touched on that already. The D-backs are going to continue to get better. They're going to have their moments right now, and I'm not worried about it, and I don't think B is either. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, there's concern. Again, it's okay to have some concern because you're projecting down the road against, elite teams or better offenses, and that's okay. But I'm not going to just completely panic and say, oh, my God, we're toast, mid-season, and that's kind of my point. Now, I'm catching up on the chat and the comments myself. I see we got a team up north. I call them scum. Sorry if you're offended. Scumtro in the chat, talking goofy. But yeah, no, the defensive backs, yes, we got some work to do and we need to get healthy again. Like I said, so let's see how we come out after the bye week with improvements in health and play on the field and kind of go from there.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And we do have a light troll here, Mr. Mike Fort. I'll just throw it up here just to give him just a little bit of a chance here. Might want to play a team that actually has something remotely resembling an offense before you hype up that D. Well, guess what? You could say the same about the teams that you played to start the year. Okay, hyping up your offense. All right. So everyone's talking about Michigan's offense and how they are. The two teams that they played with a pulse, Maryland and Indiana, had half a pulse, and it was 10-10 at the half. Yeah, that score is a little misleading at 31-10, especially when Michigan was favored by, I think, 24-25 in the game. Okay, so Ohio State was scheduled or favored by 27 today. They took care of their business against a team they were supposed to take care of. So, yeah, I hear you, but guess what? November 26th is coming, and that's not where you want to be at. I can guarantee you that. And I will come back and eat crow if something else happens, but that's the way I look at that.
Yeah, real quick, these scum fans kill me trying to talk about who the competition that Ohio State is playing or anybody else is playing. Have you seen y'all strength of schedule? Utter garbage. So don't even get started with me, with these scum fans. But it's cool. We're going to see, like Bob said, November 26th, we're going to see. But we also going to see Penn State coming into the big blouse. That's right, the big blouse next week. We're going to see how y'all match up with them because today's struggle bus against Indiana, like Bob said, 31-10 was not, indicative of that game. So we're going to see. Keep talking, though.
Absolutely. And RK here says, why won't they let McCord throw the ball? Again, I kind of touched on it already. It's more, I'd like to see him throw the ball too, but when you're not trying to rub a team's nose into it, I've seen Kyle throw the ball. He's very, very good at it, and I wouldn't have any issues with it whatsoever. So here we've got a good comment here who's throwing some shade back at Mike. Mike Fort, Michigan struggled with Indiana today through three quarters. OFU's first string, out of the third had 557 total yards. Michigan State had 102. So, yeah, that's a beatdown of epic proportion. So, again, Mike, I get it. You can have all you want right now. All I can tell you is this century, you're 3-17 right now against Ohio State. So I've got Michigan fans. They don't say a word to me because they understand the beatdowns that have happened to them. Just because they've won one game last year, they still don't talk. But some of you other guys can't help yourself, and that's what makes me laugh. So let's see here. Yeah, I mean, we got a shout out here. I don't know if it's Mark shouting out to us or whatever, but he's telling us a great job here. Remember our Buckeyes live show every Wednesday at 11 a.m. They do have a show where they do talk Ohio State football at 11 a.m. every Wednesday. So remember, all you got to do is go and subscribe, especially to this channel. Like, share, subscribe us. I've had Brandon's info up here as well. Remember to follow Brandon on Twitter. You could get on his show as well, Buckeye Sports Talk. Remember, Facebook and Instagram. And you also mentioned Buckeye Scoop, or was it, Brandon? What was the other one?
Yeah, Buckeye Scoop platform. All my podcasts will be on that platform going forward. So make sure you subscribe right now. If you have not subscribed to Mark Rogers Ohio State Voice of College Football channel, click subscribe now and click like first and foremost. But if you want to hear more from me, yes, Buckeye Scoop is where you can hear my podcast.
Yep. Yes. So, there's just a lot of other banner back here, here and there, so I like the banner back and forth. Mike getting drilled by the Ohio State fans. Brutus Buckeye here asking why you trolling. So, it is what it is, whatever it may be. So
because they're nervous, Bob. They're scared, and this is how they let it out by trolling on Buckeye sites because they're very nervous. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna give one more here to Mike. Just a shout out. He says, if you want to bring up the past, who's winning the head-to-head overall? So if you want to talk about wins in the 1800s, that's right. Great. Okay. But why not talk about the last 60 years. Let's go back to the 40s and see what the record is. I mean, World War II. All right. World War I era. I mean, that's what you guys want to talk about, but that's fine. So whatever it may be you want to talk about, that's fine for you. So, it's fine. But just remember, we care about right now 17-3 this century. I'll take it. So it is what it is. And like I said, you can talk all you want, but it's coming. It's coming down the road, and as we all know. So anyway, we'll talk a little bit about next week. I love Stephen Cherry. I love him jumping on him. So again, bye week next week. Great for the bye week. Comes at a great time, B. Let's heal some people up. And so what we have coming out of the bye week, we'll touch on Iowa a little bit here. Iowa's one of the most anemic teams offensively I've ever seen. They have a good defense, but I think it's a defense that might test Ohio State a little bit, and I think it's going to get their, it's going to get their attention. And so I'm glad that it's going to get Ohio State's attention, because now I can't wait to see how they react to somebody that might try to punch them back in the mouth.
Yeah. Let's definitely touch on Iowa real quick. Mike, one other thing. Only scum fans care about leather helmet Civil War victories. We talking about recent history when you were actually, like the actual recruits have been alive. All they know is Ohio State dominance. So we don't care about the all-time record because these recruits don't. So anyway, Iowa, I actually think, and listen, this is just how I feel after watching Iowa play. I think their defense is a tad bit overrated. I think they, basically they want to bait you into making mistakes. They want you to have to drive, down the field methodically on them, and they're very opportunistic. Okay, and that's fine. But a part of the bye week is we're going to have an extra week to prepare for that. And we're going to have guys back. And we're going to come out, and I believe we're going to jump all over them. And that's just how I feel about it. Now, I'm not saying Iowa doesn't have a good D at all, but I do think we're going to overwhelm them, especially in the shoe and not having to go to Kinnick and deal with that environment. So yeah, I feel good about that matchup after watching Iowa play a couple games.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, right now, that line's probably going to be 21. I would think that at this point, depending on what Iowa and Illinois, what happens in that game. But I actually hit it right on the nose with Michigan State. I said it would probably be 25. It opened up at 25, but kicked off at 27. So I could see that line with Iowa being anywhere from 21 to 24 possibly coming into the shoe, because they know how anemic that offense is. So, again, I'll be honest with you, B. I'm glad for a bye week next week for myself, man. This is grueling doing these shows, man. So, but I'm so glad I had you on tonight. I love your insight. I love having you on. I think we work well together, and I appreciate your time. And I'm going to give you a heads up right now. The Northwestern game, that's my birthday weekend, and I'm treating myself to go to Northwestern game. So I'm actually booked a flight. I'm going to go to Chicago. So I'll talk to Mark, and I won't be a part of the broadcast. He may have you do it yourself. I don't know. So I know that was one other game that you said that you would do the last game. I think it was Northwestern you signed up for, whatever. But that's down the road. I'll definitely keep in touch with you and go from there. So, but
cool.
I don't have anything else to say, my man. I'm done. If you'd like to add anything else, we can call it a night.
That's it for me, man. All I got to do is say, all I want to say is go Bucks. Appreciate the victory. And, let's chill over this bye week, watch some other games and get ready for Iowa.
Yep. Well said. And again, too, enjoy the week. We can watch the football and not be nervous for once. Again, people, like, share, subscribe. Go to Mark Rogers, hit that subscribe button. Donations are welcome. If you don't want to, that's fine too. But we like having you around. We appreciate you being here. And to myself, peace out. B, take care, my brother. And I will talk to you soon, all right? You got it. You got it, my man.
All right.
Take care, B.
You too.